Ciao.
For a meeting. And you're late.
What?
You're late.
And it was traffic.
Yeah, it's traffic.
Want to talk about how last week was supposed to go? Hi, everybody. It's Ken. Ray, yeah, doing a solo in a few minutes for just a few minutes today because, boy, howdy, huh? That second COVID shot is no joke, at least for me, at least for some people. Here's the thing, we could just add to... hold on, I'm going to back up a little bit. We got two things I want to talk about today really quickly. Changes in Apple Podcasts and the second COVID shot. I don't know which one to do first. Probably I'll go ahead and do the Apple Podcast thing first, only because that's, sort of a newsy thing, and newsy things are sort of what we do here. It's news to Ken, let's say that, because it's Monday, and on Monday it's news to somebody. So last week when Apple updated iOS 14.5, they did the changes to Apple Podcasts, some of the changes they were talking about. I don't think any of the paid subscriptions are there yet, but they did do the new app. And pretty much the minute that went into effect, it became harder to get any of the shows with which I'm associated. Now, I'm used to having to wait a few minutes from the time I post to, something actually showing up in Apple Podcasts. And having done this for 15 years, I'll just sit there and keep hitting refresh, or, keep swiping down to get the thing to see, or, whatever the heck it is. Go into Overcast, hit refresh, and, it's showing me that my podcast is there. Go into Downcast, same thing. Go into podcasts on Amazon, same thing, right? And it was always usually about, well, I shouldn't say always. It was about 5 minutes, maybe, before it would show up in Apple Podcasts. Not before it showed up on the page, but if I, swipe down to get it to see the latest, it would, apparently that would prompt it to go out and check and see, if there's a new show there. And it's not doing that anymore. So I didn't know what was going on. Brought it up with some of the people, other podcasters that I know. They didn't seem to know what was going on either. Not knocking them, because did I mention I didn't know what was going on. My special lady friend is also a podcaster, and she takes the business side of podcasting. I don't want to say she takes the business side more seriously than I do, but she keeps up with the business side more than I do, because I'm curmudgeonly. I worry about, what's going on with my show, and I don't want to say hang everything else, but I tend to be so focused on the stuff that I'm working on that I don't, a lot of times, poke my head above the water to see what else is going on out there. And so she's subscribed to something called podnews.net. I think maybe she gets a newsletter from them, but they also do a podcast, and they also have a website where they, post information. And so they actually ran an article, Apple Podcasts changes why it doesn't see your new episode instantly. And it's basically because it just doesn't anymore. They actually also do a daily podcast, which I didn't know, but I'm sure they don't know about mine either, so I think we're even. But what they did is they go into how it is that the different podcast services see your podcast. And the long and the short of it is they have crawlers. And the crawlers go out and basically check any RSS feed of which they're aware. And it used to be that Apple, or ITMS, which of course is iTunes Music Store, which is what handled podcasts initially. That's still what their crawler is called, ITMS. And it used to come around pretty often. As of April 29th, here are the RSS stats for podnews.net. Overcast is checking them once a minute. Google is checking them every 4 minutes. Pocket Casts is checking them every 8 minutes. Spotify is checking them every 7 minutes. And Apple Podcast is checking them every 2.1 hours. Which, if you do a daily show, is kind of annoying, because it doesn't say when, and you have no control over when. And here's the thing, a lot of them, if you swipe to see if there's something new, that would prod them to go and check for you. That would prod them to go and check your RSS reader. And that's not happening anymore. And my hope is that the reason that is just because, growing pains, because they're, getting everything back to normal. Who knows? Maybe right now, in fact, I will check right now because I just posted macOS Ken a few minutes ago. So if I go in to the Apple Podcast thing and I check right now for macOS Ken, oh, this is scintillating radio. I feel like I should be spinning the wheel of stuff while we do this. So if I go in and check right now, yeah, I get nothing as far as macOS Ken. And who knows? It could be 2.1 hours before it shows up for me. I've been a huge fan of Apple Podcasts for a while. I'm hoping this is something that's going to change soon. Otherwise, I may start using Overcast. And we can talk sometime about why I'm not a big fan of Overcast either, but we don't have to talk about that today. Anyway, that's the thing that's going on as far as the Apple Podcast thing is concerned. Now, talking it over with my special lady friend, she, while being a business, a person who's interested in the business of stuff, she's also a bit cynical. Why should Apple check my show any more than every couple of hours if they're not getting any money from it? The question is going to be, are they going to check their paid shows more often than they're checking their unpaid shows? And we don't know yet, and I hate to assume that that's going to be the thing, except something weird and hinky is going on right now. They used to check more often than every 2.1 hours, especially if you pulled the thing to get it to see. And so we'll see. Let's really quickly talk about the second COVID shot, and then we'll bust out of here. Boy, this sounds more like a macOS Ken Live than in a few minutes, doesn't it? Oh, if you never heard macOS Ken Live, the second version of it, that was fun. Although you're kind of hearing it right now. Talk really quickly about the second COVID shot. I might have been able to pull off doing the earnings call show that I did for Monday's macOS Ken on Wednesday night. Certainly that was my plan. My plan was go get the shot, come back home, race against time to write that show. I had actually had a Friday show planned as well. That was just all going to be Apple TV stuff. And then I don't know. They hit me in the arm with that second shot, and pretty much from that moment on, I was worried about when I was going to start feeling bad. Now, my hope was I wasn't going to feel bad at all. But pretty much the second it starts, that you start thinking about mortality and how different it is than it was a year ago when we had no idea how long it would be before we had a vaccine. And I started feeling just a little weird almost right away. And so I hoped that I would wake up the next day and feel much better. And instead, I woke up actually at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like feeling like my skin was, very uncomfortable from the inside. Felt like I had a fever. I had a headache. Although, do you ever have a headache, or do you just feel like you have a headache? Anyway, I didn't feel well Thursday, and I didn't feel well Friday, and so we got no shows for the rest of the time. None of that's really what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is when I went for my first vaccine, I won't say it was fun, because there's still something kind of nerve-wracking about it, but there was an excitement about it at the same time. I saw that whole thing, and it was running like a well-oiled machine, and there were people in line ahead of me when I went for my first shot. But stood in line. Everybody was being friendly. Everybody was being nice. There were lots of people there helping out. There were lots of people directing you to different places. Every place you had to stand and wait, because you had to stand and wait every place, but every place you had to stand and wait, there were people, checking on you, and you could see everything that was going on. And this time, got there, and there was nobody there. There were 2 people sitting at tables, willing to help you, but there was nobody ahead of me going to get the shot. Now, in fairness, they had actually called me earlier in the week and said, could you come in earlier that day? And I said, no, I can't because I have a call. That call was the earnings call. And yes, I probably could have gone in earlier, but then it would have messed stuff up, whatever, and I wouldn't listen live and all that stuff. So I went in at the time that they had said, which was 4 p.m. There's nobody else there. And seriously, by the time I left, I think there were maybe 10 people sitting there for their mandatory 15 minutes to make sure you weren't going to, cack on the way home. And there was like one person watching that area. There was one person giving vaccines at that point. And by the time I left, they had actually already packed up the, come on in and get your shot table. It was done. I'm reading articles that are saying that people aren't going for their second shot. And the only thing I can think of, if you're not going for your second shot, is because you're afraid. And I'm not saying you, because I know you're going to go get your second shot. I know you well enough to know that. People who aren't going to get their second shot, the only thing I can figure is they're worried about the side effects. Because everybody talks about the side effects. I'm talking about the side effects. They're bad. They're not that bad, though. Here's the thing that you know. They're going to end in like 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours. Now, look, they're no joke. You don't want to plan to go jogging the next day. I missed my, dance for 20 minutes, get your badge thing, because that happened on Thursday, and I was not. I got my stand goal on Thursday, which kind of amazed me. I got no other of my fitness goals or anything like that. If you trusted science enough, to say you're going to get the vaccine and it's going to keep you from getting COVID, you got to trust science, when they say, no, seriously, you're going to need 2. I mean, 1's going to protect you some. We understand that. But 2 is going to offer the full protection, unless you're doing the Johnson & Johnson. That's only 1, I know. But the Pfizer and the Moderna, it's 2. And if anybody is not going because they're concerned about the side effects, it beats COVID. I feel like that should be their ad campaign. The second vaccine, it, beats, COVID. So if you know anybody who's not going because of that, listen, it was a rough 36 hours. It was a rough 48 hours. But it wasn't even rough. I mean, and now maybe people do have a worse time than I do. I don't know. I have a friend who's about 10 years younger than I am, and he said that he has not felt that bad in a very long time. Speaking as a 51-year-old man, I can tell you that I can remember 2 times in the past 5 years where I felt more sick than I did from the second COVID vaccine. And I don't know why I'm trying to convince you, because I'm serious. I know you're going to go and get the second one, because you want to beat this thing as well. I am sorry it made me miss a couple of days of shows. I wish there was some way I could have timed it so that that would not be the case. I also ended up having to postpone jury duty last week because I knew that I was going for my second shot. So, it could be a bit less disruptive. That'd be fine. But what is it they say in the ad campaign? In my mind, it beats COVID. Anyway, sorry about the days of macOS Ken that I missed. I have no idea what's happening in a few minutes for the rest of the week because I was really out of it for the past several days. But, back in force, back in full effect. Arms feeling better. Thanks for asking. And I don't have COVID-19. So, winning. I think I'm supposed to, have an outline here. Not an outline, but like a line to get out. I think instead I'm just going to back away slowly and pretend